I want a divorce. You're useless to me. Those 7 words shattered Elena Park's 4-year marriage in a single night. 2 hours later, her husband brought another woman into their bedroom. When Elena tried to protest, he beat her unconscious in the middle of the night. She ran for her life in the rain, bleeding and broken, until she collapsed in an alley. That's where Kang Taemin found her, Korea's most dangerous mafia boss, a man feared by everyone, and her husband's worst nightmare. He offered her protection, safety, a way out. But 5 months later, when Elena discovered she was pregnant with Taemin's child, her ex-husband came crawling back, demanding what he thought was his. He had no idea the monster he'd just provoked. Welcome back. This story is gonna blow your mind. Trust me, the plot twists will hit you out of nowhere. Smash that like button, grab your orange, and let's dive in. Elena Park knew her marriage was ending, but she didn't know it would end with her blood on the marble floor. She was standing in the kitchen of their Gangnam apartment, the luxury penthouse her husband's pharmaceutical company paid for, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline, when David walked in with that look on his face. 4 years of marriage. 4 years of trying for a baby. 4 years of fertility treatments, invasive procedures, hormone shots that made her body feel like a stranger's, monthly disappointments that felt like failures. And now this. We need to talk, David said, his Korean-American accent sharp with irritation. He loosened his tie like the conversation was already exhausting him. Elena's hands stilled on the vegetables she was chopping. Nothing good ever started with, "We need to talk." "About what?" she asked, even though dread was already pooling in her stomach. "About us. About this." He gestured vaguely between them. "About the fact that after 4 years, you still can't give me what I need." There it was. The accusation, he'd said. "A divorce?" she whispered. "David, we can try other treatments." "We can." "I don't want to try anymore." He cut her off, his tone final. "I've already consulted with a lawyer. I'm filing next week. You can stay in the apartment until the paperwork goes through. Then you'll need to find somewhere else to live." "Find somewhere else?" Elena's voice broke. "This is my home. We built this life together."
No, Elena.
"I built this life. You just lived in it." His words were surgical, precise, designed to cut. "You gave up your nursing career to support me, which was your choice. You moved to Seoul for my work, which was your choice. You spent 4 years failing to get pregnant, which, let's be honest, is also your failure, not mine." "That's not fair," Elena said, tears burning her eyes. "The doctors said." "I don't care what the doctors said. I care about results. And you haven't given me any." David picked up his briefcase, already moving toward the door like the conversation was over. "I'm going out. When I come back, I don't want to discuss this. The decision is made." "Going out where?" Elena asked, though she knew. She'd known for months. Really, even if she'd been refusing to see it. The late nights. The perfume that wasn't hers. The way he flinched when she touched him. "That's not your concern anymore," David said. And then he left. Elena stood in the kitchen for a long time, staring at nothing, trying to understand how her life had just imploded. She'd met David 5 years ago at Seoul National Hospital, where she'd been working as a trauma nurse and he'd been completing his residency in cardiology. He'd been charming, ambitious, brilliant. He'd pursued her relentlessly, saying he loved her independence, her strength, her dedication. They'd married quickly, too quickly, maybe, moved into this apartment, started trying for a baby because that's what his traditional Korean-American family expected. And somewhere along the way, the man who'd loved her became the man who saw her as defective. Elena's phone buzzed. A text from David's mother. "I heard David is finally doing the right thing. You should leave quietly. Don't embarrass our family further." So his family already knew. Of course they did. Elena deleted the message, blocked the number, and tried to breathe through the panic crushing her chest. She had no job, no income, no family in Korea. Her parents were back in California, and she hadn't spoken to them in years after they'd opposed her marriage to David. She was completely, utterly alone. That night, Elena lay in bed. Their bed, though David hadn't slept in it for weeks, and stared at the ceiling, trying to figure out what to do. She must have fallen asleep eventually because she woke to the sound of the bedroom door opening. David's voice, low and cold. "Get up!" Elena sat up, confused, her eyes adjusting to the darkness. "David? What time is it?" "Get up," he repeated. "Now." Something in his tone made fear spike through her. She climbed out of bed, her heart pounding. That's when she saw the woman standing in the doorway behind him. Young, beautiful, Korean, everything Elena wasn't. "This is Yuna," David said. "She's moving into the master bedroom. You're moving to the guest room." Elena couldn't believe what she was hearing. "You're bringing another woman into our bed?" "David, we're still married." "Not for long." His smile was cruel. "And Yuna is already pregnant." The words detonated in Elena's chest. "Pregnant?" she whispered. "How long? How long have you?" 6 months, David said. "She's 3 months along. Due in January, finally. I'm going to be a father." Elena felt like she was drowning. "You've been cheating on me for 6 months?" "I've been finding a solution to our problem for 6 months," David corrected. "You couldn't give me a child, so I found someone who could. Now get your things and move to the guest room, or I'll move them for you."
No.
The word came out stronger than Elena expected. "No, this is my home too. You can't just." David's hand shot out faster than she could process, his palm connecting with her cheek with enough force to snap her head sideways. Elena stumbled back, her hand flying to her face, shock and pain exploding through her skull. "Don't tell me what I can and can't do in my own home," David said, his voice deadly quiet. "Now move." Elena looked at him. This man she'd married, this man she'd loved, this man she'd given up everything for, and saw a stranger. A dangerous stranger. "Okay," she whispered, her cheek throbbing. "Okay, I'll go." She grabbed her phone, threw on shoes, and walked toward the guest room. But David stepped in front of her. "Where do you think you're going?" "The guest room," Elena said, confused. "You told me to. I changed my mind." His expression was blank, emotionless. "Get out. Leave the apartment. I don't want you here anymore." "David, it's 1 in the morning. I don't care. Get out or I'll throw you out." Elena looked past him to Yuna, who was watching with a small, satisfied smile. This was planned. They'd planned this together.
Humiliate Elena.
Break her. Force her out in the middle of the night with nowhere to go. "Fine," Elena said, her voice shaking. "I'll leave. But I'm taking my things."
No.
David grabbed her arm, his grip bruising. "You take nothing. You leave now or—" She tried to pull away. His other hand came up, fist clenched, and he hit her. Once in the stomach, knocking the wind out of her. Once across the face, splitting her lip. Once more in the ribs. Elena heard something crack. She fell to the floor, gasping, tasting blood. "I said get out," David said, standing over her. Elena crawled toward the door, her vision blurring, her body screaming in pain. She made it to the elevator, out of the building, onto the street. It was raining, cold December rain that soaked through her thin pajamas within seconds. Elena ran. She didn't know where she was going. "I didn't have a plan. Just ran through the rain, through the empty Seoul streets, her bare feet bleeding on the pavement, her body throbbing with every step. She ran until she couldn't run anymore, until her legs gave out and she collapsed in an alley behind some restaurant, gasping for air, shaking with cold and shock and pain. She was going to die here, in an alley, alone, broken. "Hey!" The voice was male, deep, concerned. Elena looked up through the rain and saw him. A man stood at the entrance to the alley, backlit by streetlights, tall and broad-shouldered. He wore an expensive black coat, his dark hair pushed back from a face that was all sharp angles and dangerous beauty. Behind him stood 2 other men, equally well-dressed, equally dangerous-looking. "Please," Elena whispered, too exhausted to be afraid. "Please help me." The man stepped closer, his eyes narrowing as he took in her injuries, her bleeding face, her bare feet. "Who did this to you?" he asked. My husband, Elena said, and then she passed out. Elena woke up in a bed that wasn't hers. Soft sheets. A room that smelled like expensive cologne and something else, tobacco, maybe, and leather. For a moment, she panicked, trying to sit up. But pain exploded through her ribs and she gasped. Don't move. The same deep voice from the alley. You have 2 cracked ribs and a concussion. The doctor said you need to stay still. Elena turned her head carefully and saw him sitting in a chair by the window. In the morning light, he was even more striking than she'd remembered. Korean, probably in his late 30s, with a face that belonged on magazine covers. Sharp jawline, intense dark eyes, full lips. He wore a black shirt rolled up to his forearms, revealing tattoos that snaked up both arms. Who are you? Elena asked, her voice hoarse. Kang Taemin. He stood, moving toward the bed with a fluid grace that was almost predatory. And you're Elena Park, wife, soon-to-be ex-wife of Dr. David Park. Is that correct? Elena's breath caught. How do you know? I know everything about everyone in Seoul who matters. Taemin sat on the edge of the bed, his proximity both comforting and terrifying. Your husband is a cardiologist at Seoul National Hospital. His family owns one of Korea's largest pharmaceutical companies. He's been having an affair with his surgical assistant for 6 months. She's pregnant. He filed for divorce 3 days ago. He paused, his eyes scanning her bruised face. And last night, he beat you unconscious and threw you out of your home. Tears burned Elena's eyes. Yes. Why did he hit you? Because I couldn't give him a child, Elena whispered. Because I'm defective. Because... Stop. Taemin's hand came up, his fingers gentle as they brushed her uninjured cheek. You're not defective. Your husband is a coward who blamed you for his own inadequacies. You don't know that. I do, actually. Taemin pulled out his phone, showed her a medical document. I had my people pull David's records. He has severe oligospermia, low sperm count, and poor motility. He was diagnosed at 25, long before he met you. His chances of fathering a child naturally are less than 5%. Elena stared at the document, her mind reeling. He knew, she whispered. He knew the whole time that he was the problem? Yes, and he let you suffer for. You do nothing. I'm not. Elena shook her head. I can't. I don't know anything about their business. I was just David's wife. You lived in their home for 4 years. You attended their parties. You heard their conversations. Taemin's voice was persuasive, hypnotic. You know more than you think. And even if you don't, your presence in my protection is enough to make David panic. To make him make mistakes. Who are you, really? Elena asked. You're not just some good Samaritan who helps random women. What do you do? Taemin smiled, and it was beautiful and terrifying. I'm the man your husband fears most, he said. I run everything David's family wishes they could touch. The real power in Seoul's underworld. Import, export, protection, information. People call me the Black King because when I decide someone needs to fall, they fall completely. Elena should have been terrified. Should have demanded he let her go. Instead, she felt something else, hope. What do you want from me? She asked. Cooperation. Information. Testimony when the time comes. Taemin's hand covered hers. In exchange, I'll give you protection, safety, and resources to rebuild your life. A place to stay for as long as you need. And when this is over, David Park won't just lose you, he'll lose everything. What if I say no? Then I'll still protect you, because that's who I am, Taemin said. But you'll miss the chance to make him pay for what he did. To make them all pay. Elena thought about David. About his cold eyes when he'd said, I want a divorce. About his fist connecting with her face. About 4 years of being blamed for something that was his fault all along. I want him to suffer, she whispered. I want him to lose everything the way I did. Taemin's smile widened. Then we have a deal. Over the next 2 weeks, Elena's body healed in Taemin's home. The estate was massive. A modern Korean mansion with traditional architectural elements, surrounded by walls and guards and and security cameras. Her room was in the East Wing, with its own bathroom and a balcony overlooking a private garden. A doctor came daily to check her ribs. A chef prepared her meals. Taemin provided her with clothes, toiletries, and everything she needed. She never saw him during the day. He was always working, managing his empire from a home office she wasn't allowed to enter. But every night at exactly 9 p.m. he came to her room. They'd sit on her balcony, drinking tea, and he'd ask her questions. About David, about his family, about the parties she'd attended, the conversations she'd overheard, the people who'd visited their apartment. Elena told him everything. About David's cousin who worked in shipping. About his uncle who frequently traveled to China. About the late-night phone calls David would take in his study, speaking in hushed Korean she couldn't fully understand. His father died 3 years ago, Elena said one night. Right after that, the family business changed. David became secretive, paranoid. He installed cameras in our apartment. Started locking his study even when he was home. That's when they started moving the drugs, Taemin said, making notes on his phone. His father was legitimate, corrupt, but legitimate. When David's uncle took over operations, everything went underground. Can you prove it? With your help, yes. As the weeks passed, Elena found herself looking forward to their nightly conversations. Taemin was intelligent, surprisingly funny, and he listened to her in a way David never had. He told her about his own life too, how he'd grown up on the streets of Seoul, orphaned at 12, surviving through intelligence and ruthlessness, how he'd built his empire from nothing, earning respect through fear and loyalty in equal measure. People think I'm a monster, Taemin said one night, his eyes distant. Maybe I am. I've done terrible things to protect what's mine. But I follow a code. I don't hurt women or children. I don't move drugs that kill. I don't betray the people who trust me. That's more than David ever did, Elena said quietly. Taemin looked at her then, really looked at her, and something passed between them. Something electric, dangerous. Elena, he said carefully, I need to tell you something. What? I'm attracted to you. His voice was low, honest. I have been since the moment I found you in that alley. You were broken and bleeding. And all I wanted to do was kill the man who'd hurt you and keep you safe forever. Elena's heart was pounding. Taemin, I'm not asking for anything, he continued. You've been through hell. You're healing. The last thing you need is another man complicating your life. But I needed you to know so there's no confusion about why I'm helping you. It's not just about David. It's because of you. Elena stood up, moved closer to him. In the moonlight, his face was all shadows and sharp angles, beautiful and dangerous. What if I want complications? She whispered. Taemin's eyes darkened. Elena, you don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. She was close enough to feel his warmth now. For 4 years, I felt worthless, broken. David made me believe I wasn't enough. But when you look at me, I feel powerful, Taemin finished. Beautiful, valued, because that's what you are. Then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was hungry, desperate, like he'd been holding back for weeks and couldn't anymore. His hands were in her hair, on her waist, pulling her closer. Elena kissed him back with equal desperation, her body coming alive for the first time in years. They made it to her bed, somehow clothes disappearing, his hands everywhere, his mouth on her neck, her collarbone lower. Are you sure? Taemin asked, breathless, giving her one last chance to stop. Yes, Elena said. I'm sure. They made love like they were both starving, like they'd both been waiting their whole lives for this moment. And afterward, lying in Taemin's arms, Elena felt something she hadn't felt in 4 years. Happy. 3 months passed in a blur of happiness Elena didn't know was possible. She moved into Taemin's room officially, spent her days helping coordinate the case against David's family, and spent her nights in Taemin's arms. He was different from David in every way. Where David had been cold and critical, Taemin was warm and supportive. Where David had blamed her for their problems, Taemin celebrated her strengths. Where David had made her feel small, Taemin made her feel powerful. "I love you," Taemin said one morning, wrapped around her in bed. "I know it's fast. I know we're in the middle of chaos. But I love you, Elena. Completely." "I love you too," Elena whispered, and meant it. The case against the Park family was building beautifully. Taemin's people had gathered shipping manifests, bank records, testimony from dealers. All they needed was the final piece, proof linking David directly to the operation. Elena provided it. She remembered the password to David's laptop, their wedding date, ironically, and Taemin's tech people were able to access his encrypted files remotely. Inside, years of communications with Chinese suppliers, transaction records, distribution plans. Everything they needed. "We have him," Taemin said, looking at the evidence with satisfaction. "Next week, I'm turning all of this over to the prosecutor's office. The entire Park family is going down. David, his uncle, his cousins, all of them." Elena should have felt victorious. Instead, she felt nauseous.
Elena.
Taemin noticed her expression. "What's wrong?" "I don't feel good," she admitted. "I've been feeling sick for a few days. Dizzy. Tired." Taemin was on his feet immediately. "I'm calling the doctor. It's probably just stress." "I'm calling the doctor," he repeated. Dr. Kim arrived within an hour, examined Elena, and took blood samples. "I'll have results by tomorrow," she said. "But Mrs. Park—" "I'm sorry, Ms. Martinez. There's one thing I should tell you now." "What?" Elena asked, dread pooling in her stomach. "You're pregnant. Probably about 5 months along." The words hit Elena like a bomb. 5 months. She was 5 months pregnant. She'd been so focused on the case, on Taemin, on rebuilding her life that she hadn't noticed the signs. The missed periods she'd attributed to stress. The weight gain she'd thought was from the chef's good cooking. The exhaustion she'd blamed on emotional healing. 5 months.
Elena whispered.
"How is that possible? I would have noticed. Women with POS sometimes don't show it obviously until later in pregnancy," Dr. Kim explained. "And you've been under tremendous stress. Your body was probably in survival mode." Elena's hand went to her stomach. There was a small bump there, barely noticeable under loose clothing, but now that she was looking for it, oh God, she was pregnant with Taemin's child. After Dr. Kim left, Taemin sat on the bed beside Elena, his expression unreadable. "How do you feel?" he asked quietly. "Terrified," Elena admitted. "I spent 4 years trying to get pregnant with David and failing. And now, 3 months with you and—" Her voice broke. "What if I lose it? What if something's wrong? What if—" "Stop." Taemin's hands framed her face. "Nothing is wrong. You're healthy. The baby is healthy. This is a good thing, Elena. The best thing." "Is it?" Elena looked at him through tears. "We've known each other for 4 months. We're in the middle of taking down a criminal organization. You're a—" She hesitated. "A gangster," Taemin finished, smiling slightly. "A monster? Yes, I am. But I'm also a man who loves you completely and wants this child more than I've ever wanted anything." "You want it?"
Elena whispered.
"Really? Elena, do you know how rare it is for someone like me to find something real?" Taemin's eyes were intense. "Most people fear me, use me, try to manipulate me. You're the first person in 20 years who's looked at me and seen someone worth loving. This baby is proof that we're real, that what we have matters." He pressed his forehead to hers. "So yes, I want this baby, desperately, if you want it too." Elena thought about the tiny life growing inside her. The child she'd thought she could never have. The family she'd dreamed of for 4 years. And she thought about Taemin. This dangerous, beautiful man who'd saved her life and given her back her power. "I want it," she whispered. "I'm terrified, but I want it." Taemin kissed her, gentle this time, reverent. "Then we're having a baby," he said. "And no one, not David, not his family, not anyone, is going to take this from us." The next week, everything exploded. Taemin turned over all the evidence to the Seoul prosecutor's office. Within hours, Arrest warrants were issued for David Park, his uncle, 3 cousins, and 5 business associates. The news broke across every Korean media outlet. Elena watched the coverage from Taemin's office, her hand on her growing stomach. They showed footage of David being led out of Seoul National Hospital in handcuffs, his face pale, his expression shocked. His mother was screaming at the cameras, claiming innocence, demanding lawyers. His uncle tried to run and was tackled by police in front of their corporate headquarters. It was total chaos.
Publique destruction.
The complete dismantling of one of Seoul's most powerful families. How do you feel? Taemin asked, standing behind her, his hands on her shoulders. Satisfied, Elena said, but also empty. Like I thought this would fix something inside me, but it didn't. Revenge never does, Taemin said quietly. But justice? Justice heals. The police wanted Elena's testimony. Taemin arranged for her to meet with prosecutors under heavy security, in a secure location where David's family couldn't reach her. She told them everything. About the conversations she'd overheard, the suspicious meetings, the locked study, David's paranoia. This testimony is invaluable, the lead prosecutor said. With your cooperation and the evidence Mr. Kang provided, we can put the entire Park organization away for decades. Will I have to testify in court? Elena asked. Probably, yes. Are you willing? Elena looked at Taemin, who nodded slightly. Yes, she said. I'll testify. 2 days later, David made bail. Taemin was in a meeting when the news came through. His second-in-command, a man named Miho, burst into the office. Boss, we have a problem. David Park made bail. His family posted 20 million won. He's out. Taemin's expression went cold. Where is he? Unknown. He left the detention center an hour ago, and we lost him. Find him, Taemin said, his voice deadly quiet. Now. And double security on Elena. If he comes anywhere near her, he won't get close, Miho promised. I'll make sure of it. But they were wrong. That night, Elena woke up to the sound of glass breaking. She sat up in bed, her heart pounding, her hand instinctively going to her stomach. Taemin wasn't beside her. He was still in his office, working late. The bedroom door burst open. David stood there, wild-eyed, disheveled, holding a gun. Hello, wife, he said.
Elena screamed.
Don't scream, David said, pointing the gun at her. Scream again and I'll shoot you. I swear to God, Elena, I'll do it. Elena's hands were shaking, her entire body frozen with fear. David, what are you doing? What am I doing? He laughed, and it was unhinged, manic. What am I doing? You destroyed my life, Elena. My life. Do you understand that? He moved closer, the gun never wavering. I lost everything because of you. My career, my family's business, my reputation. The Park name is ruined. We're the laughingstock of Seoul. All because you couldn't keep your mouth shut and had to run to that gangster bastard. You beat me, Elena said, her voice shaking. You threw me out of our home. You blamed me for something that was your fault all along. It was your fault, David roared. If you'd been better, if you'd been enough, I wouldn't have needed to look elsewhere. But you were defective, broken, useless. The medical records say otherwise. Elena shot back, finding courage she didn't know she had. You're the one who's infertile, David. Not me. You knew it for 12 years and you lied about it. You let me suffer. David's hand came up, and Elena thought he was going to hit her again. But he didn't. He just stood there, the gun shaking in his hand, his face contorted with rage and something else. Desperation. Where is he? David demanded. Where's Kang Taemin? Not here, Elena lied. He's at one of his businesses. Don't lie to me. David grabbed her arm, yanked her out of bed. I know he's here. I watched the house. His car is in the garage. Where is he? Let her go. The voice came from the doorway, cold and deadly. Taemin stood there, wearing only black pants, his torso bare, showing the tattoos that covered his chest and arms. Behind him were Miho and 3 other men, all armed. But Taemin himself held no weapon. He didn't need one. His presence alone was terrifying. "David Park," Taemin said, his voice calm. "You're in my home, threatening what's mine. That's a mistake you won't survive." "Stay back," David warned, pressing the gun to Elena's temple. "Stay back or I'll kill her. I swear I will." "No, you won't," Taemin said. "Because if you kill her, you die in the next second. But if you let her go, you might live another 5 minutes. Choose wisely." "You ruined my life." David's voice broke. "Everything I built, everything I worked for, gone because of you and this bitch." "Call her that again," Taemin interrupted, taking a step forward. "And I'll rip your tongue out before I kill you." Elena could feel David's hand shaking against her head, the gun's barrel cold against her skin. She did the only thing she could think of. She went limp, dropping her entire weight suddenly. David wasn't expecting it. His grip faltered for half a second. That's all Taemin needed. He moved like lightning, crossing the room in 3 strides, his hand closing around David's wrist with crushing force. The gun went off. The bullet hit the ceiling. And then Taemin had David on the ground, his knee on David's chest, his hands around David's throat. "Please," David choked out. "Please, I'm sorry. You broke into my home," Taemin said, his voice eerily calm. "You threatened the woman I love. You pointed a gun at my pregnant girlfriend." His hands tightened, and David's face started turning purple. "You deserve to die right now." Slowly, painfully. "Taemin," Elena said quietly. "Don't." Taemin looked at her, his eyes wild, dangerous. "He tried to kill you," Taemin said. "He would have killed our baby." "I know, but if you kill him, you'll go to prison. And I need you." Elena's hand went to her stomach. "Our baby needs you. Please, let the police handle him." For a long moment, Taemin didn't move. Then, slowly, he released David's throat. David gasped, coughing, crying. "Miho," Taemin said, "call the police. Tell them we have an intruder who attempted murder. Make sure they bring a psychiatric evaluation team. Dr. Park is clearly mentally unstable." Within 20 minutes, the house was swarming with police. They took David away in handcuffs, still crying, still screaming about how Elena had ruined his life. The lead detective took Elena's statement, photographed the broken window, the bullet hole in the ceiling, the bruises on her arm where David had grabbed her. This, combined with the previous assault and the illegal entry, means David Park won't make bail again, the detective said. He's going to prison, Ms. Martinez. For a long time. After the police left, Elena sat on the couch in Taemin's office, wrapped in a blanket, shaking. Taemin knelt in front of her, his hands gentle on her face. "Are you hurt?" he asked. "The baby." "We're fine," Elena said. "Scared, but fine." "I should have killed him," Taemin said, his voice rough. "When I saw him with that gun to your head, I wanted to rip him apart with my bare hands." "I know, but you didn't. You chose us instead." Elena kissed him. "That's why I love you." Taemin pulled her into his arms, held her close. "No one will ever hurt you again," he said. "I promise you, Elena. I will protect you and our child until my last breath." "I know," Elena whispered, and she did. Elena stood in front of the mirror in Taemin's, no, their bedroom, adjusting her dress over her 8-month pregnant belly. The dress was designer, custom-made, a deep emerald green that made her brown skin glow. Her hair was styled in loose curls. Her makeup was perfect. She looked like someone important, someone powerful, because she was. "You look beautiful," Taemin said from the doorway. He wore a black suit tailored perfectly to his broad shoulders, his hair styled back, looking every inch the dangerous, sophisticated man he was. "I look huge," Elena laughed, rubbing her belly. "You look perfect." Taemin crossed to her, his hands settling on her waist, his face soft in a way only she ever got to see. "How are you feeling?" "Nervous. It's a big night." "You'll be incredible," Tonight was the gallery opening, Elena's gallery opening. After the trial, where she'd testified against David and watched him get sentenced to 15 years in prison, Elena had decided to pursue something she'd always dreamed of, art. She'd been painting for months, working through her trauma, her pain, her healing. Bold, colorful pieces that expressed everything she'd been through. Taemin loved them, insisted on funding a gallery to display her work, invited Seoul's art elite to the opening. What if no one likes them?
Elena worried.
Then no one has taste, Taemin said firmly. But they will. Trust me. The gallery was in Gangnam, a beautiful modern space with white walls and perfect lighting. Elena's paintings covered every wall. 20 pieces total, each one a journey through her trauma and triumph. The crowd that showed up was massive. Art collectors, critics, celebrities, socialites, all curious about the mysterious American woman who was the notorious Kang Taemin's girlfriend. Elena stood beside her pieces, nervous, until an older woman approached her. "These are extraordinary," the woman said. She was someone important. Elena recognized her as Korea's most famous art critic. The emotion, the use of color, the way you've captured pain and hope simultaneously. You're immensely talented. "Thank you," Elena said, surprised. By the end of the night, 12 of her 20 pieces had sold, for amounts that made Elena's head spin. "You're a success," Taemin said, pulling her close. "I told you. I can't believe this is my life," Elena admitted. 6 months ago, I was sleeping in an alley. Now I'm an artist, my fiancée, the mother of my child. Taemin's hand covered her belly. "Everything you were always meant to be." They drove home in comfortable silence, Elena's head on Taemin's shoulder, her hand in his. When they reached the estate, Taemin carried her inside despite her protests that she was too heavy. "You're not heavy. You're pregnant with my son. That makes you perfect." They'd found out 2 weeks ago they were having a boy. Taemin had actually cried, when the ultrasound tech told them. In their bedroom, Taemin helped Elena out of her dress, his touch gentle, reverent. "Thank you, Elena Sai." "For what?" "For everything. For saving me. For loving me. For giving me a life I didn't think I deserved." "You deserve everything good in this world," Taemin said seriously. "And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you have it." He kissed her, and they made love slowly, carefully, Elena's belly between them, their baby moving under Taemin's hand. Afterward, lying wrapped in Taemin's arms, Elena thought about David. He was in prison now. His family's empire was destroyed. His reputation was ruined. Yuna, the woman he'd gotten pregnant, had miscarried at 4 months and left him. He'd lost everything, and Elena had gained everything. "Do you ever think about him?" Taemin asked as if reading her mind. "Sometimes," Elena admitted. "Not with anger anymore, just pity. He had someone who loved him, and he threw it away because he couldn't handle the idea that he was the broken one." "His loss is my gain," Taemin said. "Though I hate that you had to suffer to get here. Maybe I needed to suffer to appreciate this," Elena said. "To appreciate you. You better appreciate me," Taemin teased. "I'm pretty great."
Elena laughed.
"So modest. Modesty is overrated." A month later, Elena went into labor. It was 3 a.m., and her water broke while she was sleeping. She woke Taemin, and within 15 minutes they were in his car, speeding toward Seoul's best private hospital. "Breathe," Taemin kept saying, his hand gripping hers. "Just breathe." "I am breathing," Elena said through gritted teeth as another contraction hit. "This is me breathing while someone uses my uterus as a boxing ring." Despite the pain, she was smiling. Labor lasted 8 hours. Long, exhausting, painful hours where Taemin never left her side, letting her crush his hand, whispering encouragement, looking at her like she was the bravest person he'd ever seen. And then finally, at 11:47 a.m., their son was born. 7 pounds, 6 ounces, perfect 10 fingers, 10 toes, a shock of dark hair, and his father's eyes. "He's beautiful," Elena sobbed as the nurse placed him on her chest. He's perfect, Taemin said, tears streaming down his face. You're perfect. Elena, you're incredible. They named him Kang Taemin Kang. Kai for strength. Taemin for his father. Elena held him and felt a completeness she'd never experienced. This was what she'd been missing. Not just a baby, but a family built on love instead of obligation. Taemin kissed her forehead, then their sons. Thank you, he whispered, for giving me something I never thought I'd have. Family, a future, a reason to be better. You were always good enough, Elena said. You just needed someone to see it. That night, while Kai slept in the bassinet beside her hospital bed and Taemin dozed in the chair, Elena thought about the journey that had brought her here, the pain, the betrayal, the darkness, and the light that had come after. Sometimes, she thought, the worst things lead to the best things. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find what you were really looking for all along. Elena pushed Kai on the swing in their private garden, laughing as he shrieked with delight. He was 3 now, all dark hair and mischief, already showing signs of his father's intensity and his mother's artistic soul. Higher, Mama. Higher. Any higher and you'll hit the moon. Elena laughed. I want to hit the moon. Taemin appeared from the house, carrying their daughter, 1-year-old Sophia, with her mother's eyes and her father's smile. Someone wants to swing too, Taemin said, settling Sophia in the baby swing. They'd gotten married 2 years ago in a small private ceremony. Just family and close friends.
Elena wore a champagne-colored dress.
Taemin wore traditional Korean hanbok. They'd said vows they'd written themselves, promising partnership, honesty, love. Everything David had never given her. I got a call from the prosecutor's office, Taemin said, pushing Sophia gently. David's parole hearing is next month. Elena's stomach tightened. Already? He's only been in for 3 years. He won't get parole, Taemin said firmly. The charges were too serious. But they wanted you to know you can submit a victim impact statement if you want. Elena thought about it. About David. About the man who'd broken her before Taemin put her back together. No, she finally said. I don't need to. That chapter of my life is closed. I have everything I need right here. She looked at her children, at her husband, at the life they'd built. I forgive him, she said quietly. Not for him. For me. Because holding on to that anger doesn't serve me anymore. Taemin pulled her close, Sophia between them, Kai swinging happily beside them. You're an incredible woman, he said. You know that. You've mentioned it. Elena smiled. I'll keep mentioning it. Every day for the rest of our lives. They stood there together, a family, watching their children play in the golden afternoon light. Elena thought about the woman she'd been 3 years ago, broken, beaten, bleeding in an alley, and she thought about the woman she was now, strong, loved, whole. Sometimes, she thought, the darkest nights lead to the brightest mornings. Sometimes you have to be destroyed to be rebuilt into something stronger. And sometimes, the monster who saves you turns out to be the hero you were waiting for all along. Sometimes the person who breaks you is doing you a favor, pushing you toward the life you were always meant to have. David's cruelty didn't destroy Elena. It freed her to find someone who actually valued her. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe to Novotales TV, and drop a comment. Would you have pressed charges against David? Could you forgive someone who hurt you that badly? Where are you watching from? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.